reading YouTube. My wife and I finally got around to seeing the film Divergent. Now, I haven't read the books. I know that there are popular YA series. Um, when I was a kid, we didn't have any category known as young adult. There were adolescent novels, but they were aimed at the most assuredly like 12 to 15-year-old boy demographic. Um, and they were all written by old crusty dudes like Heinlein and Bradbury, Asimov. This is a dystopian future, post-apocalyptic. I like dystopian post-apocalyptic futures. Okay, we got that. It's 100 years after the event. All right, I also like that. I don't like living through the events themselves. I find them too stressful. Um, and the universe they present us with is very broadly structured. Um, it's built in a way that's easily digestible by a younger person. Both my wife and I are looking at each other like, wow, this is really breaking things down so they're really simple, aren't they? Um, and our main character is a woman, which is a nice change of pace. Interestingly, both the main character and her main male companion, who goes by the name Four in the film, both of them are really, really old to be playing teenagers. She was 23 and he was 30, and yet they're supposed to be playing people who are like 16 and 18. Yeah, why can't we get actual teenagers in these roles? Why is it so hard to get a 16-year-old to play a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old to play an 18-year-old? They aren't going to be what the ideal is, but they're going to be real. And I think that we deserve that. Also, it would give the audience that is being targeted by these films a far more realistic view of what they should look like and act like and behave like at that age. So you're not setting up people to feel they failed at being a teenager. And having realistic expectations is far healthier. So we have our main character who doesn't fit into one of the five casts, doesn't feel like she fits in. And when it comes time to choose her cast, most people are supposed to be choosing the cast they were born into, but she jumps casts and goes into the Dauntless, which is the action-oriented cops, soldier, extreme sports people. They get to do all the cool parkour and leaping, jumping. I'd like to know what the attrition rate for the Dauntless is, because I gotta tell you, it's gotta be high. Just getting to and from where they live on a daily basis is gonna break limbs and kill people. It's just nuts. They do things that are stupid every day. There's risk taking, and then there's just I want to die, and that's what these people seem to be doing, the I want to die category. Um, and a lot of these things are broadcast from a mile away. And I guess maybe the target audience didn't pick it up from it because I'm 52. I've read a lot of this style of book in my day. I've read a lot of dystopian post-apocalyptic settings, both in novels and seen in TV shows and movies, and of course role-playing games. So I know a lot of the cues, and I know a lot of the things to look for. So maybe I'm seeing through some of this. I can see behind the curtain a little more than their target audience is. And it was well produced, and it was not too horribly acted. It kept me engaged, but it wasn't deep, and it didn't make a lot of sense in a lot of ways. Like the infrastructure that they would need to keep the society going the way they've designed it, with broken up into intellectual casts and the legal cast and the action soldier cast and the selfless cast. And then of course you have the untouchables, which they don't actually touch on in this, which is, I guess, appropriate. Those that have fallen outside the caste system. So you, and of course the farming caste, I can't remember. So the system just wouldn't work, in my opinion. Who runs the sewers? Is it the Selfless cast that runs the sewers? One of the Dauntless is shown as a tattoo artist. So is she not out there doing top soldier things? She's just a tattoo artist. She's part of the infrastructure within the particular faction doing it. So does each faction have its own infrastructure? And since they're doing things that aren't necessarily their cast active role, like being soldiers and tops, what's the economy? Who's paying that tattoo artist? Or is it kind of a socialist ideal in that so long as you're doing your job, you're allowed to just live off the largesse of the other casts? And why does the cast abnegation, which is a dumb name, why are they getting the short shift? They're the selfless ones. They're the government. Oh, that's right. They're the government and they're selfless. We can't have selfless governments. We have to have governments run by Vulcans who have an agenda. Sure, we more appropriately be Romulans, I guess. So yeah, there's this severe lack of depth, which I shouldn't be shocked by, I guess, being this is a YA novel, and I get the feeling that the author didn't really think about the ramifications of her own universe. And you see that a lot, both in fiction and books and in television and movies. People don't extrapolate things. I've touched on that topic many times. And while the setting did seem to be religion free for the most part, apparently the author is deeply religious and Christian, and feels that there are religious aspects to it. I mean, selflessness, I guess you could, if someone is a particular branch of a theism, could think that, okay, all these positive traits are aspects of our religion. I guess you could do that if you wanted to play that mental gymnastics, and all the negative aspects they're not part of our religion. Again, you want to play that mental gymnastics, I guess you can. But I just felt it lacked a level of depth that I feel that would have improved the overall storyline. I really do. And since she becomes a member of the Dauntless, who are the cops and soldiers, who regulates them? It's very much run like a gang. So who defends or who deals with when there's Dauntless on Dauntless theft, or Dauntless on Dauntless abuse, or Dauntless on Dauntless blackmail, or Dauntless on Dauntless rape, or Dauntless on Dauntless murder? Who researches that? Or is that like the cops getting to investigate themselves? Again, it's lacking depth. First thing I saw this, I'm like, wow, these people are going to have a really high sex drives. There's going to be a lot of sexual inappropriate things. What happens when some people don't like that? What happens when there's sexual assault? And we see the main character get jumped at one point by 3 people. And even a person who's well trained gets jumped by 3 people, you can be taken down. And she wasn't the best trained person at that point in the film. She was never the best trained person in the film. She got better, but she was never the best. So I was bothered by a lot of the lack of depth. Now I'm probably still going to go and I'll pick up the other ones. And what is it? Insurgents, Ascendant. I know that they made 3 movies, and now I guess they're working on a television movie. So I guess they got diminishing returns on the movies, so they're making the leap from the big screen to the small screen. Okay, the main character is being played by the same actress. Well, whatever, man. You know, if it works for you, go for it. Ride that train as long as you can, but she's still playing like someone who's supposed to be in the 16 to 19 range, and at this point she's what, 27 or something like that, 28. Yeah, why don't we let teens play teens? Radical concept, I know. So tell me, what did you think of the Divergent film? Did you read the books? How does it compare between the book and the film? Does the book have the same glaring holes in it, the same lack of depth, or do they go into more detail and explain how the structures in this world work? I'd like to know that, because I'm not going to read the novels. Um, so let's talk about Divergent.